100%. We also have some more Young Turks drama involving Cenk. Well, Cenk just went on Jillian Michaels, right?
Yeah, he did not so long ago. Let me see here. I think I have the Cenk Uygur one right here. Yep.
Yeah, and Francesca said this is about me. So let's take a look. Cenk talking shit on his, I guess, still technically current employee, but essentially former employee, Francesca.
And I think we learned she was never technically an employee. She was just a contributor he paid.
What's the technical difference?
So, like, you don't have any rights if you're just a contributor. If you're an employee, you're protected under labor laws. But if you're an like an I-9 like a contract employee,
Gotcha. Yeah. I just meant someone who worked under Cenk for TYT.
For sure.
It's just like the same thing with the ad that Trump ran, where the undocumented immigrant transgender people that crossed over are in detention and they want free surgery for gender reassignment surgery. And I'm trying to tell my friends on the left, whether I say it or the American people say it, which they do, 98% of them basically say it, we're not saying we hate trans people. What we're saying is, I don't know why I'm paying for their surgery, okay, when they're not even citizens and they were detained for crossing the border illegally. Now I owe them money for their surgery, for whatever surgery, right?
Right.
And Americans are saying, I don't owe them that money. Sorry, right? And so that's fair. In my opinion, that's super fair.
But then you got Kamala saying that on friggin' camera. And then, again, this is where I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and so that's the far left. That's the far left.
But Cenk, they plant a friggin' flag, man, and they don't course correct. I've got my list of crazy shit they have.
And then it looks like actually you might have been right, Gavin, that there's one more from Francesca.
You mean the tweet where she says this is about me?
Yeah, because I think is that the same. I think there's one more clip where because
no, she was responding to that clip that we just played. Here it is, right here.
Oh, okay, bad. Okay,
yeah, and it's in direct response to that clip from Cenk, where he's clearly referencing her performance on Piers Morgan, where she apparently said that like men should be able to play in women's sports or something. I'm sure whatever she said, Cenk absolutely butchered the nuance of her argument and basically tried to present it just as a straw man. That made her sound ridiculous or something.
Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, that's right. I just was noticing the timestamps longer. She just posted a longer version of the exchange. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we gave her the full due, but go on.
Oh, no, that was all I had to comment. But yeah.
This is an incredible response, by the way. She says, this is about me, and he's right. I shouldn't have said yes to the Floyd Mayweather transition since I missed an opportunity to say he's hit enough women in his life. That's a golden line, Francesca the comedian. Bro. But anyway.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, obviously, fuck Cenk for, again, going behind Francesca's back, someone who has been part of the TYT family. I'll put it that way. I don't want to, condescend or demean what Francesca is representing. She's more than just Cenk's employee. She's someone who was very important in building up the Young Turks as a network, as a brand, longtime contributor to that company. So yeah, it's absolutely disgusting for him to go behind her back, refer to her as some crazy lefty who's out here making crazy positions or, saying crazy things. When in reality, Francesca takes exactly the right approach. Even if you don't agree with her on everything, I think the Democrats could learn a lot from this. Don't give in to the fucking Republican bullshit fear mongering. Don't give in to their talking points. They're not going to suddenly start voting for left wingers and Democrats and progressives because you admit that, oh yeah, you're right. The trans people have gone too far. They are being given too many rights in society. They're being allowed to participate too much. You're right. That's not going to work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. And Cenk is still holding a grudge about this months and months after Francesca and him had the debate about the Algerian boxer in the Olympics, who was a woman, right? Which is the other thing that's crazy about this, that boxing debate that it was about a woman. That woman was not transgender. She was an Algerian woman boxer that won a gold medal for boxing in women's boxing. There was no controversy there except for the ones that Cenk and Anna invented. They invented it along with all the Republican talking points that came out because they could possibly accept the fact that a woman athlete was so capable, right? And that is one of the chief arguments that you can deliver to people to be like, hey, actually, these guys that pretend they care about trans women in women's sports, no, they don't. They care about oppressing women as a whole because they have a certain standard that you're allowed to perform at. And if you exceed that standard, they're going to say that you're a man. And that was what Francesca was very beautifully and artfully arguing against.
Yeah, 100%. And by the way, I feel like in general, when it comes to this issue of trans people in sports, like Democrats, they need to take, for one, a cue from Francesca. Don't give in to the Republican framing. Don't give in to the right wing fear mongering. Don't admit that, oh yeah, trans rights has gone too far. No, that's absolute bullshit. I think it's total fucking bullshit. If anything, if you want to remain agnostic, here's some advice for any potential Democratic candidates watching. I don't think there's any that watch the Vanguard, but in case you are wanting to run for office and you're a Democrat and you're uncomfortable answering this question, or you don't want to take an unpopular position, maybe you're running in a red state, who gives a fuck, right? Just say that it's not really my fucking job as a representative or a politician to be deciding that sort of things. Perhaps we should leave it up to the sports leagues. Perhaps we should leave it up to the schools in question that have these sports leagues. Like, why the fuck is it all of a sudden something that a congressman or a senator needs to have an opinion or position on, right? Like, I would prefer that they support trans people's right to participate, but really, ultimately, shouldn't it just come down to the sports leagues? Like, whatever company is putting on hockey class or track and field, or again, the schools themselves, like, shouldn't that be the arbiter of who gets to play? Why the fuck are we asking random fucking, politicians and people that are involved in representation when it comes to the government? It just seems like a stupid, obvious culture war distraction. And again, if you're a Democrat, you should call it out as exactly that, a culture war distraction, and say that, regardless of how I feel about it, it should be left up to the freaking sports teams and the athletic organizations, which actually know what the fuck they're talking about. Because most politicians aren't athletes, and neither is Cenk Uygur, right? Neither is most of these people. I would leave it up.
Just 500 pounds and you can fight Joe Rogan. Okay, so I don't know. You might not be an athlete, Gavin, but like it or not, Cenk Uygur is what the peak male form looks like. Okay, none of these soy leftists can relate to the alpha male. No, I completely agree with you. Look, how hard is it to say that the Supreme Court's been very clear on civil liberties? If there's a challenge that needs to be made, we'll hear it out in the court system. You know what I'm saying? If civil liberties are being violated as we understand them in the United States of America, I'm confident that the attorneys in the area are adequately and able to take care of that 100%. A PC way of not answering the question without aiding and fanning the culture war. Even though I agree with you, I would prefer it if they were like, hey, we have to continue to fight for the rights of our next generation to have more than we had, etc., etc.
100%.
Oh man, so
100%.
sad and pathetic from the Young Turks that's not even all. We still have more to talk about, right? This Jillian Michaels lady, she's done a lot to try and go down the maggot rabbit hole. I think she's realized she can really thread the needle because she's into fitness, she's into questioning everything, she's into RFK, and she's like, man, I'm into getting paid too. I could just become a Republican mouthpiece. You know what I mean? And Anna Kasparian was one of the first to stick her necks out there and be like, I'm going to endorse this lady. In fact, this was the home of the Why I Left the Left video. The first person to launch Anna's Why I Left the Left video was Jillian Michaels. Okay. Yep. That's what made her confident enough to be unaligned.
Yeah, 100%. And it seems like Jillian Michaels, much like Dr. Phil, has basically just been like due to waning relevance or something, has just decided to take whatever celebrity and clout she had and just become like a right-wing talking head propagandist. However, despite the fact that this video got a lot of attention, the one you just referenced, Zach, with Anna Kasparian leaving the left, much like Dr. Phil's new political YouTube channel, the views aren't exactly impressive, bro. Take a look at this absolute humiliation. 627 views. That's not even 1,000 views. 1.2K views from a day ago. Not even 2K views on this video from 2 days ago. This one with Cenk got 40,000. But again, it's like Cenk and Anna aren't even going on relevant right-wing platforms, really. They're like, they're going to like the bottom of the barrel to talk to completely irrelevant, washed up hacks. People like Jillian Michaels, people like fucking Dr. Phil, which of course, makes Matt Leck, the producer of the Majority Report, I think it makes his point even more astute. Nasty work to pander to these soulless ghouls. And of course, that's in reference to Jillian Michaels on Piers Morgan, mocking concern for starving children. Did you see this, Zach?
Bro, yes. And you can tell if we really quickly go back to her YouTube channel, Gavin, and throw it up on screen, you can see she's literally just scroll back up because you can see a video. Somebody basically gave her a bunch of talking points on why U.S. aid is corrupt. Why is food being grabbed? All this kind of stuff. And she's not smart enough and she's not interested in doing any of her own authentic research. She's just having on these right-wing propagandists and then trying to regurgitate their shit back at Sam Cedar, and that's not going to work because Sam has a functional brain and he's not scared of these lunatics. You know what I mean? In fact, it was crazy. If you guys tune into Cenk's conversation with her, she just gets a flashback where she thinks she's back on The Biggest Loser. She just screams at Cenk that he needs to lock his refrigerator and start doing crunches. It's pretty sad to see. No, I'm kidding.
I was like, wait, what?
This woman made her entire fortune screaming at fat people, guys.
Yeah, I knew that.
Humiliating fat people publicly for the fucking, corrupt food system, right? Not having a single question about that back in the day, right? She just wanted to make money, humiliating people that were struggling from obesity because we poison the food in this country. Yeah, pretty insane.
Yeah, 100%. So let's take a look at the clip from Piers Morgan. God, I'm like, who the fuck are you? This lady, like, I know who she is. She's the Biggest Loser or whatever. I'm like, why are, like, just because she started a YouTube channel doesn't mean we have to take her seriously. Why are you now on a panel with Sam Cedar? What gives you the right? But anyway, let's take a look.
The feeding starving children thing is such a freaking red herring. So first of all, the vast majority of this USAID bloat and corruption does not go to that. Second of all, we have children starving here in America. But third of all, and what you don't know, so you're like, oh, there's children starving in Africa. But really, it is about billions of dollars going to big ag. That's what that's really about. And I've seen it firsthand when I went to South Sudan and stayed at a refugee camp.
Oh,
So
I've been to
don't
South
play your
Sudan and I've
starving
held black
children
babies,
card.
okay? And I don't care if they starve.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know a ton about the U.S. aid program, but from what I heard, like, she's kind of right in the sense that, yeah, it's not really about just like the humanitarianism. It's not necessarily true. It's not just like, oh, we care so much about starving kids. But what she is kind of right about, that's actually not a terrible thing, is that it is sort of a handout or a subsidy to American farmers, agriculture in this country, who many of which rely upon that subsidy in order to stay in business, in order to keep their American farm in business. And then it's actually kind of a cool thing because then the food that they're growing does go to starving children in Africa and other countries. But it's a way to keep American farmers in business and then also provide some of their product to parts of the world that are dealing with like poverty and famine and stuff like that. Obviously, then there's also the element of USAID, which is like American, CIA influence and meddling and stuff like that, which I do not approve of. But it is not necessarily a bad thing to subsidize American farmers and agriculture.
No, in fact, yeah, you can find corruption and problems in any single one of the United States organizations. But what she's so cavalier about is the fact that people are going to starve to death. And by no stretch of the imagination is that a lie. It's right here, clear as day. Life-saving programs disappearing as a result of the U.S. aid funding cuts, right? Health groups and officials warn the Trump administration cuts could cause hundreds of thousands of preventable deaths. Here are 7 global health threats that will be affected by the cuts. We don't have to read every single one of them, but 7. Okay, polio, HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis. Okay, lots of preventable diseases. But Gavin is 100% correct here. She wants to talk about how it's all big ag that's receiving the funding. That's absolutely not true, right? I would love it, nothing more, if we said instead of funding big ag, we're going to fund even more local American farmers because they cannot survive in a global economy, guys. Like, it shouldn't have to be explained to people, right? And I know that you guys understand that. That's why you're watching us. But just for posterity, if you stumble upon the show, guess what? In America, it costs way more to grow a head of cabbage than it does in Vietnam. I was just in Vietnam. I had the good fortune of traveling over there. Beautiful country. Probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my entire life. Kindest people you'll ever meet and some of the most delicious food you'll ever eat. Guess what? When I ate a banh mi sandwich from there, it was probably 50,000 dong. That's like 2 USD. You know what I mean? Very cheap to get it from a street vendor. Do you think I could grow and manufacture all the ingredients in America to make a banh mi for $2 and then still be able to feed myself and have a roof over my head? Absolutely not. right? So it would be unfair for the guy that grew carrots in Vietnam to be forced to compete with the guy that grows carrots in California. That's why we have to subsidize the way our food is grown, because it's not fair for me to charge a guy 18 weeks worth of wages for a head of carrots or for a thing of carrots in Vietnam, or fair to charge the guy, $25,000 for all of his carrots that he grew in a day here in America. That's why a global economy doesn't work without global planning. Okay. That's why we have problems with global capitalism. That's why it demands poverty. Okay. Jillian Michaels doesn't have a single instinct that would allow her to even begin to process all of that. Her brain power is inadequate. But these are all the things that you have to understand and discuss if you want to unpack politics for a living. But instead, she wants to repeat a talking point she heard on her old podcast a week ago and try and say it to somebody else's face. It makes her look like a soulless ghoul, which she is, right? But what we have to talk about is that just because the United States U.S. aid has been used to embed ourselves in other countries and undermine them, doesn't mean it doesn't save thousands and thousands and thousands of lives. And when you go in and you start to do a surgery with a fucking kitchen knife instead of a scalpel, you're going to kill your patient, right? And that's essentially what happens with Donald Trump. Even when he rhetorically says something that might be true, he goes in with a butcher knife instead of a fucking razor blade, or better yet, with an incisor that you could do with laser like we do in real 21st century surgeries, okay? And he fucks the whole thing up, and he sacrifices the lives of children that don't need to die. And he has disgusting, pathetic propagandists like this lady go on national television and try and launder his reputation as a result of it. Disgusting.
Oh, yeah. It's completely disgraceful. And with no riz either. She just comes off like a screeching fucking Karen or something. I'm like, who the fuck would actually want to listen to this woman give her analysis? But let's listen to the rest of this, and then we'll take a look at Anna Kasparian's response on Twitter to Matt Leck, who again is the producer of the Majority Report.
I can't.
Well, listen, it's not my card. It's just simply the reality. And the fascinating thing about
your card, though. Your game is like nobody's empathetic because children are starving.
We are talking about
what it's really about.
This guy's laughing.
Yeah, and you didn't seem very fucking empathetic. Like, the reason he's acting that way is because you're acting like a soulless fucking bitch. I'm sorry, but she is. She's not acting empathetic at all about, yes, the reality of the situation. It's not just a card to play. It's not just like a virtue signal to point out that, yeah, these programs, which were sending food to starving children in Africa, if they don't exist anymore, those kids will starve to death. They will die. That's not a card to play. It's not emotional manipulation to point it out. It's the fucking reality of the situation. Either way, Matt was 100% correct to point out that this is nasty work pandering to people like her. Anna responds and says, "Hey, Matt, maybe spend a little less time policing who I can converse with. It's fucking weird." Which is hilarious because obviously it goes without saying that if Anna Kasparian had gone on Jillian Michaels' show to debate her or to like shut down the propaganda, obviously Matt Leck would not have scolded her over that. Like, clearly the substance of the criticism is not just that she conversed with Jillian Michaels. It's how she did that.
Yeah, 100%. And also, this is what you say when you have nothing. She's got nothing. This is the most tired response. It's not even funny. You're way better off just not responding at all if you don't have something funny to say. Anna doesn't understand the laws of the internet, okay? You have to be humorous. You have to be likable. You have to have something going for you. You can't just be like, I know you are, but what am I? Like, it was the most, like, backyard, I have been defeated in the dozens. Like, oh, it's really weird. You're so obsessed with me. Why are you so obsessed with me? And it's like, LOL, that's called a joke. I made a joke about you. I made a joke at your expense because what you do and how you behave, that's humiliating, right? So it's not weird, actually. It's funny. And you used to have a large platform, and now you've circled the drain for a long time, and you've hit rock bottom. And now the community is pointing and laughing at you. That's what's happened. So it's not weird. But since you're so slow, I went ahead and processed it for you, Anna.
Yep, 100%. And again, it's not about policing who I can converse with. No one gives a fuck about who you converse with. It's how you represent your ideology and how you discuss the left behind our fucking back when you're on a show like Jillian Michaels. And what do you do when you're on a show like that? You shit on the left, you smear the left, but then you won't actually have a left-winger on to say that to their face. You won't actually say it to Emma Vigeland's face. You won't actually say it to Sam Cedars' face, despite the fact that both of them have offered that opportunity for a debate, for a discussion, right? All these people to your left, your critics from the left, they've all offered a debate. They're not afraid of you whatsoever, but you have to go on these stupid sycophant shows like Dr. Phil and Jillian Michaels to talk shit again behind our back. And while you're talking shit behind, you're talking shit on the left, in the next breath, you then go on to praise the right constantly. It was in that interview with Jillian Michaels, Zach, that Anna praised Matt Walsh and his documentary, his transphobic fucking propaganda documentary. Remember, she was like, I thought it was pretty good.
Woman? Yeah.
I thought it was actually pretty funny. It was pretty insightful. Tee-hee-hee. That was like the first fucking thing out of her mouth. Seriously, go watch that dog shit interview she did with Jillian Michaels, the one where she like leaves the left. Literally the first thing she says is, yeah, I really enjoyed Matt Walsh's documentary, and then goes on to shit all over the left for like 30 minutes.
Yep. I mean, that's all she has left, and that's why it's not working, and that's why neither of them are a draw, and that's why they weren't even covering a response to the State of the Union last night on their news channel, the longest running daily news show, right? It's embarrassing. They took the fucking inauguration day off. Oh, it fell on Martin Luther King Day, and we take that off here at the Younger. Like, it's pathetic. It's a disgrace. Her career is over. All you do is she can't get invited on any real shows. She doesn't even get invited on the main Megyn Kelly show. She's like off on the side for like a partial segment. Yep. You know what I mean? She's not a draw. She has no political clout. She doesn't have any kind of a base to fall back on. And what happened is she got way too comfortable, and Cenk got way too comfortable, and they started smelling their own farts for a living, and they believed that no matter what they did, an audience of people would find them and love them. And that's how you lose your career, baby, because you always got to stay on top of your game.